If you're retired or close to it, you may be asking yourself, how does the big, beautiful bill impact me and my retirement wealth? From lower tax brackets to higher deductions and less taxes on Social Security. But here's the thing, most people will not take advantage of it. In this video, I'm going to cover with you how to build a tax smart withdrawal strategy, how this bill is going to affect taxes on your Social Security, your RMDs and Roth conversions, so that we can help you potentially save tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes over your lifetime and create more wealth that you can spend, or if you choose to, leave a bigger legacy to the ones that you love. So let's first of all start off with this slide, give you some context on why this is a huge opportunity for retirees or people approaching retirement. I mean, if you go back and look at the U.S. individual income tax rate, and again, this is the top marginal tax rate, always going all the way back to the 20s, you're going to see a period of time from 1940 to 1980 where the top marginal tax rate never dipped below 57%, right? And you may ask yourself, well, why is that? Well, we're coming out of, the Great Depression, world wars, things of that nature. And if you think about in relative to the debt that we were in back then versus the $35 trillion of debt that we're in today, if you look at right here, in 2018, when the current Tax Cuts and Job Act was enacted, you can see that the top marginal tax rate now is about 37%. And when you consider the debt that we're in, this is a unique opportunity that we've been given, because remember, the current Tax Cuts and Job Act was set to expire at the end of this year. Now, this next slide is showing you, again, if you're married, filed jointly, what the current progressive tax brackets are, based upon your ordinary income. When we mean ordinary income, we mean things like your IRA distributions, your pensions, Social Security can be taxed at, up to 85% of your Social Security benefit can be taxed, annuity distributions, rental income. And really what you want to know is, based upon the income that you want in retirement, where is that income going to come from, and where do you progressively graduate up this bracket? Now, if you're retiring before your RMD age, right? And your RMD age could be 73. If you're born after 1960, it's now 75. And if you have a lot of wealth in IRAs and 401ks, this is when you need to know where you fall into this tax map. When you have to take your RMDs, is that going to put you up into a higher tax bracket? Because once you have to take required minimum distributions, and again, if you have north of $1 million or $2 million in IRAs and 401ks, you really want to start taking advantage of this unique window with the new big, beautiful bill to see if tax planning today can help you reduce future taxes in the future. So the questions you may have is, the big, beautiful bill, what is it? How can it impact your retirement plan? And more importantly, how do you stay ahead of it? Let's break it down simply and strategically like we always do. Now, the big, beautiful bill, and you got to love the name, right? It was signed into law July 4th, 2025. And this sweeping legislation includes a permanent extension of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act, expanded deductions for seniors and families, a higher cap on SALT, which is state and local tax deductions, and deep spending cuts to Medicaid, IRS enforcement, and clean energy. Now, the one thing that could be negative is economists say that it will add about $3 to $4.5 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. But what does this mean for you as a retiree or soon to be retiree? So let's unpack it. All right, so the Tax Cuts and Job Act is extended. What does this mean for strategy? The first thing you need to know, the current low tax brackets are here to stay. Now, remember, the current Tax Cuts and Job Act was set to expire at the end of this year. Now they've been extended for another 4 years. So this opens up real planning opportunities. This is a golden window to do things like Roth conversion while rates are low. So again, if you have north of $500,000, $1 million, or $2 million in pre-tax investments, IRAs and 401ks, this bill really can impact you positively. It's the right time to take taxable IRA distribution strategically to avoid ballooning RMDs later. So what we want to build, like we talked about in that tax map, is to strategically build a tax smart withdrawal strategy, or start doing IRA distributions now while doing Roth conversions to decrease how your RMDs later. Because if you're 60 or 65 and you're watching this, your RMDs aren't for another 10 years. This is a time to start spending down or organically converting those IRAs so that your future RMDs, which could be at a higher tax bracket, will be much lower. And also consider charitable giving strategies that use qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs. Again, if you're over 70 and a half and you have a lot of IRA money, maybe you don't want to leave all the money to your kids. Taking advantage of QCDs could definitely lower your taxes right now. So if you're not coordinating your tax with your income and investment strategy, thing is you may be overpaying taxes to Uncle Sam. Oh, by the way, he's definitely not your uncle. So now let's cover healthcare and long-term care cuts, which would shift the burden over to you. Now, this bill cuts federal spending on Medicaid and long-term care subsidies. Medicare remains untouched for now, but don't be fooled. Cost pressures are building. So what does this mean for you? Your long-term care strategies more than ever. Private or hybrid or asset-based long-term care insurance might be necessity. Now look, old long-term care strategies which were, you bought a long-term care insurance policy, kind of a use it or lose it strategy. You've probably seen your premiums go up. We're not talking about that. We're talking about asset-based long-term care, which is if you've got a lot of money that in normal scenarios, you'd probably leave this to your kids. Asset-based long-term care, which could create a tax-free benefit for you down the road, could be a game changer because again, long-term care, the burden is now even shifting more under this bill. IRMA brackets become critical when planning withdrawals because rising premiums can eat into your Social Security. And IRMA is just basically the amount of money that you pay on your Medicare premium, what you pay for your Medicare premiums. So you've got to be really careful here. Bottom line is if you're not planning for rising healthcare costs now, you're going to be reacting to them later. So we talk about a BAM advisory group, the difference between working with an advisor that's proactive versus reactive. You really got to consider all of these changes. So now let's talk about the impact that the big beautiful bill has on national debt and investment implications. With trillions in added debt, here's what we could potentially see: higher interest rates, inflationary pressures, and of course, market volatility. All of this makes retirement income planning even more delicate. You need assets that provide stability, flexibility, and growth potential. So this may be time to revisit things like bond ladders, buffered ETFs, or in some cases, income-focused annuities with income protection. Because the idea is that if we're going to have potentially, higher interest rates or more volatility, you want to make sure that your income plan is predictable, reliable. We really don't want to, rely on stock market returns for income, and we want to make it as secure as potentially possible. What is our response to our clients of a systemized plan? At BAM Advisory Group, we really aren't surprised by laws like this. We plan for them. Our planning process, the BAM Retirement Gameplan, already includes tax smart income strategies. So we're already being proactive with tax planning opportunities. And again, what this bill allows us to do is even be more aggressive because now we know for the next 4 years that we're going to be at lower tax brackets. Healthcare and Medicare coordination. We recently recorded an episode with Tasha Riggs. So we want to coordinate those conversations with outside professionals. And we have those relationships here at BAM Advisory Group. Investment allocations that are designed to withstand, uncertainty, making sure that you have monies that are not tied to the stock market that either has protection on the downside, but still will give you growth on the upside. And then of course, estate and legacy strategies that adapt to changing laws. When Congress moves, your plan does not need to wobble. We do not need to be reactive. That's the power of having a repeatable process and a team behind it. So here's the deal. The big beautiful bill isn't just about politics. It's about policy that can affect your taxes, healthcare, and legacy. And you have a window of opportunity. Let's use it wisely and act now. And you don't have to navigate this alone. If you'd like to see how your retirement plan stacks up under this new law, we encourage you to schedule a 15-minute intro call with one of our advisors and our team to see how we could potentially answer your questions and create value for you to help you navigate this new tax code. If you're curious about how we help people protect what matters most in their retirement, and you just want to see how our process works for you, give us a call or visit our website at www.bamadvisorygroup.com. You can schedule a 15-minute, no cost, no obligation, no pressure phone call with one of our advisors to get all of your questions answered, to understand your options, and for us to be able to provide you with more information and clarity. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you all real soon.